Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on Episode 3 of Code Geass R2. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So last we left off, it became pretty clear that this Rollo character is an agent of the Emperor, and he's, well, I suppose it's not exactly clear what he's doing, but you know, he's definitely there to watch Lelouch and make sure that things maintain the status quo. It also became pretty clear that we have no idea what happened to Nunnally, probably to her detriment, and that Lelouch's friend is now, like, you know, within the inner circle of the Emperor, which I suppose that aligns with his beliefs. You know, in retrospect, thinking about the previous episode, I feel like I should have known that Rollo was likely the pilot of that experimental nightmare frame, but I guess I feel like I can't blame myself too much having only watched this for the first time now. Now, it's interesting that Lelouch is giving a speech like this, like, you know, the only requirement to become a citizen is to carry out justice. Oh. Okay. So it's interesting that Rollo seems to have a Geass of his own. I guess that makes sense. You know, why put someone in this dangerous situation without, you know, some method of fighting back? But it seems like Lelouch is up to shenanigans again. You know, appearing that he's in two places at once. And that Villetta is, providing cover for Lelouch. This is interesting because she is a Britannian agent. I believe she was a lieutenant or something, so that she's ostensibly allying with Lelouch. That's very interesting because he Geassed her really early on and she knows he's Zero. Surely she's not under amnesia again, right? Like, that was sort of fixed. There's something bigger going on here, and it's not entirely clear. Now, I guess the question is, how much does Lelouch know? Because I assume he doesn't know that Rollo is an agent. Like, he knows he doesn't know who Rollo is. So I guess it's probably a safe assumption that he can't be trusted, but the idea is that he doesn't know he's the Nightmare Frame pilot. Okay. So, yeah, it does make sense that C2 was the one in the suit and all that. Ooh. There's trouble in paradise with C2 and Kellen, you know, knocking horns. Like, that's, it's never good when women start to fight like this, you know? Like, Lelouch already saw Kellen in the bunny suit. Like, things are complicated. Wow. So I guess they're doing home ec or something. Like, Lelouch just has to, cook a bunch of fancy stuff. And, this is one of the other plot points. Like, Shirley is a big loose end because last we meaningfully left off with her back in the first season, Lelouch had Geassed her to entirely forget him, and he was just sort of playing this off like, oh, she's mad at me, so she's pretending not to know me. And he tried to erase all evidence of their previous relationship, but she was suspecting, and she found things, and it seemed like the Geass was sort of unraveling itself. But, we haven't really gotten any concrete information on what happened. And I mean, like, we haven't heard anything about what happened, but it is clear that Shirley knows who Lelouch is. So, I don't know. Like, it begs the question of just how deep does everything go here, because for everybody to know about Rollo, this implies that not only was Lelouch Geassed by the Emperor, but all these people were as well. And, yeah. Okay, so Lelouch is simultaneously coming to the same realization I am, that, like, nobody's asking about or wondering about Nunnally, and they're all talking about Rollo, so everyone seems to have been affected here. And I feel like, were I in Lelouch's shoes, I think this would be pretty good evidence that Rollo is far more dangerous than I would initially assume. And I guess, okay, so it seems like Violetta wasn't really covering for Lelouch. She was just sincerely reporting and maintaining her cover as a teacher. Because clearly she's not actually a teacher. Ooh, okay, so this is an interesting situation where there's all sorts of surveillance going on. Lelouch wouldn't have the opportunity to use his Geass without, other people noticing it. So it's sort of like a cat and mouse thing. I know historically comparisons have been made between Code Geass and Death Note, but this sort of strikes me as that, the whole, like, I'll take a potato chip and eat it, and, all the rigmarole associated with that. Although, I feel like Lelouch wouldn't really have any meaningful targets to Geass at this point. At least nobody he hasn't already gotten with it. Now, maybe I missed something earlier, but it seems as though he's regained control over the Geass because it doesn't always show up in his eye. I'm wondering if there's just like a sort of cosmetic way around it, like he puts in a contact or something, but I was given to understand that once you lost control, like, that's it. You're just commanding people. Yeah, so it's unfortunate that Lelouch is sort of gonna have to, like, walk on a tightrope here. Essentially, like, pretending to be under the Geass and, not betraying any knowledge of Violetta Nu and who she really is. Ooh, okay. So Lelouch is planning to win over Rollo. There might be some merit to that, but I don't know if it can be done, because he seems to be pretty heavily involved with the Empire. I don't know. Like, I feel like maybe a Geass would be the thing to do here, but, when he's on such a tight leash, I don't know how he could manage it. And so finally Suzaku shows up again, and he's just, here presumably to show off his skills in the Lancelot by butchering people en masse. Because, yeah, he's just one guy and just one machine, but that one machine is very nice compared to all these mass-produced peons. And I guess this is also to show that, despite all of the previous victories, the Black Knights and people in a similar situation, enemies of the Empire, are on, rather shaky ground. Okay, so here we go. More confirmation that Suzaku is a Knight of Seven, which is, I think we can assume that's the Emperor's personal guard. The 7 knights who stand above everyone else in terms of importance. Huh. So this is, maybe a bad time for Rollo to drop by if Lelouch is just looking through all these old pictures. I mean, it seems like they really spared no expense to Photoshop Rollo into everything, or to just take new photos. But, man. Ooh, now Rollo's performing a little fishing expedition, saying like, oh yeah, that Babel Tower, like, how'd you escape from terrorists? You know, Rollo wasn't exactly that tactful, which, you know, maybe indicates that, he's not as good an agent as the Emperor would perhaps want him to be. Ooh. Well, this is unfortunate, because Lelouch was composed and in control, but, you know, now, like, he notices that this gift that he gave to Nunnally is something Rollo is in possession of. And, you know, I can understand being a little shaken about that. I mean, he seems to be maintaining control of the situation, but, like, you know, a constant reminder of your missing sister who's likely being held in captivity is, you know, that's not something I feel like many people could maintain their composure in the face of. Oop. Okay, so Rollo did use the Geass, and he was sort of instructed not to. Ooh. So I guess his Geass is able to stop time or something? Or to paralyze people, I suppose. That's probably the better explanation. But, man, so even though Lelouch got the better of him in that brief conversation, Rollo's certainly someone you can't mess with if he just, you know, effectively paralyzes everyone within a certain range, and he just, you know, dispatched that guy who just, you know, stumbled upon a conversation he probably shouldn't have. Like, you know, the poor guy probably didn't deserve it. Ooh. So now Callan's questioning whether or not Lelouch is Zero. You know, I was under the impression that, you know, she knew by this point, but, oh. Wow, you know, it's never advisable to storm out of the shower immediately and start berating people. Okay, so I guess C2 was just trying to, spread subterfuge by implying that Zero was a woman rather than being Lelouch. Ooh. Okay, so it seems like in other places things have gotten a bit hairy. Ooh, yeah, okay, like Ogi and the rest of the Black Knights who had been captured, they're all gonna be executed. So I guess the question is, this is obviously something to goad Lelouch into action, but will he? Surely he must, right? But I guess the other little wrinkle here is that Villetta, while she was an amnesiac, like, she got along with Ogi, and sure, she betrayed him in the end when she regained her memories, but, you know, that little lingering look on the monitor, I think that's enough to inform us in the audience that she's not entirely sold on the idea that he should die. So now Shirley's getting involved with Lelouch, saying like, oh, hey, let's, you know, like, can you help me pick a present? And, Alright, so there's intrigue in the student council. I suppose we would have to get into stuff like that eventually, but I'm more interested in the execution. Oh, would you look at that? I was correct. It is a contact to hide the Geass. Now that is interesting. So, like, the permanent Geass, like, it's just going. I'm wondering how he avoids actually using it. Because I was given to believe that, if he spoke in a certain way, that would be counted as a command and people would obey him. Does he have to manually adjust how he speaks? Because, what's it called linguistically speaking? The imperative form. When you speak imperatively, it's like, you must do blah, 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 blah. Does he just not speak like that now? I guess I haven't been reading the subtitles carefully enough, but I feel like if the Geass is always active, which indeed it is, he would have to speak very, very carefully. I mean, I feel like the lesson should already be ingrained into him after, like, if I ordered you to kill the Japanese, you'd do it, and, boy howdy, we saw how that went. Alright, so Shirley, despite having Lelouch help her pick out a present, wine in particular, she's determined to make this a date. And it's like, man, this is like a 3D chess maneuver. It's like, hey, can you help me with this problem? And then also, it'll be a date. But, she doesn't tell the other party that. Now, it is interesting that, well, it's not interesting that some of the student council are sneaking around, but that they included Rollo, unwittingly bringing a spy with them. I guess it makes sense that he would try and surveil things. Like, he's in the perfect position to, but I guess the idea is, can they get any actual confirmation that he is in fact Zero? Because it seems like they really don't have that information. I mean, they know he was, but they don't know if he is currently. Okay, so Violetta's even considering that maybe he hasn't truly regained his memories. Ooh. So does the contact block it then? He has to take out the contact to make the command. Okay. Alright, that I think makes a bit more sense than restructuring the entire way he speaks. Because, that would be a real pain in the fundament. Because if, suppose you drop your pen in class and it, skitters halfway across the room and you ask, the nearest person, hey, can you hand me that? Boom, there's the Geass, done and wasted. Ooh. Shirley is saying, hey, can we ride the cable car? What did she mean by that? Is that a latent memory rising to the surface? Lelouch knows the significance of that particular cable car and what happened there, but Shirley clearly doesn't. And I guess this begs the question, how much of previous events does she remember and how much was erased? Because clearly she would remember the death of her father, but seemingly not that Lelouch was Zero and therefore responsible. So, I guess this is a bizarre case of overlapping Geasses canceling certain things out or something like that. Ooh. So Lelouch has decided on a daring plan to try clothes on and sneak out and surprise the president. That is, of course, the cover. He just wants to sneak out and get outside of the radar of the Imperial spies. What's he gonna do? He's calling security, so clearly... Okay, he's doing the good old classic bomb threat to mall security. So I guess that's probably his best bet, bad as it is to say, just call him a fake bomb threat, cause chaos, and slip out when things go bananas. And it seems like he's just managing to sneak out entirely. Everyone thinks he's still in the changing room, but he's already slipped out. And since all this information about the bomb threat is circulating, everybody's going to be on high alert for him and what he's doing. But, if he's slipping out into disguise, then, well, that's it then. He gets away cleanly. But at the same time, he's going to have to, slip back in at some point. Ooh. Okay, so he just, he asked the guy to go pull the fire alarm, essentially. That's a good way to cause chaos, because, it makes sense. Security knows about a bomb threat. They don't want a panic, but if you pull the fire alarm, that's generally a good way to get people to panic. So, Rolo's discovered Lelouch was no longer in the changing room, which I feel like this is pretty good confirmation that Lelouch is up to something. The question is, what can they meaningfully do about it at this point? Because I feel like now that Lelouch is back, it might be too late, Maybe they could just sort of kneecap him while he was still at school pretending to be a student, but if things are just, going to start escalating from here, it might be too late. Now the question is, how does Lelouch move from here? I feel like even with a gun drawn on Rolo, he's not in a remarkably safe position. I feel like the better thing to do would be to, make things decisive. Yeah, he was a little too slow on the draw here. He got bamboozled by the Geass. Okay, so Lelouch has made the same assumption I did. He can stop time, although I don't think that's truly the case now. Ooh. So it seems like the Chinese Union is, nowhere near as interested in being allies as they presented. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.